The following is a sponsored program paid for by First Alliance Credit Union. Welcome to Good Money Moves, featuring Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome to Good Money Moves. I'm Andy Brownell, along with Jenna Taubel, Director of Brand and Digital Member Experience at First Alliance Credit Union. Hi, Jenna.
Hey, Andy.
So last week we talked about setting personal financial goals, prioritizing them. Yeah. What good money moves are we going to talk about today?
Today we are talking about vacations. I know we talked about that several weeks ago, but today we're specifically talking about taking family vacations on a budget, because I think family vacations are almost like a ritual here in America, especially, right? I mean, who doesn't love the idea of going to an amusement park with your family and having fun with everyone, or even just relaxing at a campsite, or, going to see Yellowstone, whatever it is that your family likes to do. But it's not something every family truly can do sometimes. And because vacations tend to be very expensive, and oftentimes parents feel as though they have to choose between taking on a lot of debt to give this experience and have this family memory built, or sacrifice taking a vacation altogether. But I'm here today to tell you that you don't have to. It is entirely possible to have fun and a memorable vacation, even if you are on a tight budget. You just have to know a few tricks, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, well, a little bit late though. I mean, most of us have already, if you haven't already at least planned the family vacation.
Yeah.
Or
I knew you would probably ask that. Yeah. It does feel like it, right? We're already in August, but there is a reason I'm bringing it up today, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the podcast.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see, I guess. So, what's the first trick for taking the family on a vacation on a budget?
Yeah. So plan ahead as far as you can. Number one thing you can do, no matter what your budget is, plan ahead as far as you can. And this is always the most effective way to make vacations a little bit more budget friendly. So the sooner that you start planning, that means that you have more time to save up some money, and you'll be less likely to spend out of pocket, or on a credit card potentially, when that vacation date finally arrives. And, some people just out of habit plan their vacation a year or even 2 years in advance. Some people, especially if it's going to be a big trip.
Some of these places you want to go, you have to plan a year in advance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're talking a Disney trip, you should definitely plan that ahead of time.
Even a northern Minnesota cabin, you might want to.
Yeah, booking those cabins, they get filled up fast. They certainly do. But you might not have that luxury, right? But to book it a year or two in advance, right? Sometimes you just have to, you have the opportunity and you want to take it. But even if you only have a couple months, you can still start saving something ahead of time. So in order to really start saving, though, you need to have your vacation goals figured out. So think about, where do you want to go? What do you like to do? How long your vacation should last? Are you what kind of travel are you going to have to do? You have to take an airplane? Can you drive? Can you walk? Right? I mean, what is the plan? So once you've got those goals figured out, you can start to create a vacation budget, which is kind of that piece we've talked about before on this show. And really what this is going to let you do is kind of list out all those potential expenses that are going to come up on that trip. And it's really, really important that you do not underestimate expenses. The most important thing here is to really get a clear picture of how much this trip is going to cost you beforehand. So if anything, overestimate and leave yourself a lot of wiggle room. But really, once you've got,
Don't lie to yourself, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Be very overly realistic, if nothing else. But really, once you've listed all those expenses out, you can then add them up to get that estimated cost of what that family vacation is going to cost you. And again, kind of adding a little bit of a buffer of about, let's say, 10% to that number for those unexpected expenses or those things you maybe forgot to think about. And that number is going to be and feel really big most likely. But again, the sooner you start planning, the more time that you have to put some money aside to kind of offset any additional costs that might come from this. And you also have more time to search for better prices on things like those travel expenses, accommodation, any event tickets, costs that come up for those things that you're going to want to do on your vacation. And also expenses like airline tickets, hotel rooms can be cheaper when you order them in advance. So of course, you can also make the cost of your planned vacation a SMART goal, which we've talked about many times on this show as well, to really help you start to save up for it and kind of create a plan to help you reach that goal. We do have a free downloadable vacation budget and a SMART goal packet on the First Alliance Credit Union website in our resource center. So 2 free tools to help you start planning a vacation that's within your budget.
That's very cool. I like maybe I'm just a nerd or whatever, but planning ahead that far in advance, I enjoy it. It's challenging and a little bit fun in a way. I hate trying to slap something together at the last minute.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just gets so stressful trying to figure it all out last minute, first of all. And when you plan it far enough ahead of time, it gives you something to look forward to and kind of keeps you excited. Like, oh, yeah, we're getting closer to vacation time. Getting it. You know what I mean?
Especially if you find one of your magical deals that you're talking about.
Yes.
You go, hey, look what I found.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We can spend a day at the Mothball Museum of America. I'm kidding. Okay.
The Spam Museum.
Well, you can buy a can of Spam. So what's your second trick for taking a vacation on a budget?
Yeah. So if you do have a tight budget, it's going to be important that you choose an affordable destination. There are a lot of really big, popular destinations that we all have dreamed of going on vacation at one point in time. If you haven't already, Disneyland, Disney World, Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, I'm sure you can think of many, many others. The problem with a lot of these destinations is they do start to get very expensive. So instead, look for locations and travel options that will fulfill your vacation goals, but at a lower cost, right? So for instance, if you were hoping to go to Disney World because you wanted the amusement park experience, there are amusement parks in the Midwest that you could visit for a more affordable price. Six Flags in Illinois, Cedar Point in Ohio, obviously Valley Fair up by the Twin Cities. And there are also plenty of other Midwest attractions that you can do during a vacation, even if it's like a mini vacation that you're going on, right? That take a steamboat tour of the Mississippi River. You can visit Chicago and see the Sears Tower, the Navy Pier, the Museum of Science and Industry. There's the Gateway Arch and City Museum in St. Louis. You could go to South Dakota and explore the Badlands or Mount Rushmore. You can even travel to Michigan and see Greenfield Village or the Detroit Zoo, right? So there's all kinds of destinations that you can still create really good memories by visiting with your family, but they are likely not going to be as expensive as some of those other ones that are maybe more popular vacation destinations.
Okay. All good points. And I agree, Disneyland or Disney World, in my view, overrated. Really expensive, overrated. And that is from an adult's point of view. I can't give it to you from the kids' point of view. They probably thought it was the coolest thing ever, but the lines, oh my gosh, the lines.
Yeah, you stand in the line for a long time.
And you miss some great Minnesota destinations or even Midwest destinations.
Yeah.
Wisconsin Dells.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And in Minnesota, the headwaters of the Mississippi, Itasca State Park, done that. That is an awesome place to spend a week.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to do in the park and near the park.
Mm-hmm.
Duluth. I mean, my gosh, there's so many things to do in Duluth. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, especially during the summertime.
Yeah. And even the Twin Cities, as you mentioned, mini vacations.
Yeah.
There's a ton of great museums up there and attractions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking the Twins game.
Yeah, it's an easy drive from here, and plenty of hotel options, Airbnb type options up there, I'm sure.
So You have another trick we can look at as far as vacation on a budget?
Yeah, so remember how the beginning of the podcast you were like, why are we talking about this? The summer's over. Well, this is why. A great way to take a family vacation on a budget is to take advantage of those quote unquote off seasons. So when you're going on vacation, can actually affect your budget as much as where you're going.
Yep.
So companies tend to raise their prices when they know more tourists will visit, but they will lower prices during months where they're not as busy to try to attract you to come because the price is better. This is known as the off season. So if you're planning to go on vacation and you want to go maybe to some of those more popular destinations, traveling there during the off season can be a really good way to save money and still be able to have that experience. Now, there aren't usually official dates for the off season, but it's not hard to really figure it out, right? For instance, the crowds in Florida beaches tend to thin out in September, and they usually don't start coming back until, spring break time or even May is when they start to get really busy. So on the other hand, winter tourist towns like Aspen aren't going to be as busy in the summer. So those are some things you can think about as time of year that you're going places. Now, if you really want to take advantage of the seasonal weather, though, obviously there's still options, right? Seeing the Grand Canyon might not be as fun when it's snowing, and even parts of Florida get a little chilly in the winter. So you do kind of have to factor that in if you're planning more of an outdoor adventure. But in those cases, you can always look into what the tourist industry calls the shoulder season. So there are the first and last 2 weeks of kind of the quote unquote tourist seasons in a lot of these places. So like late April, early May, and late August, early September, if you're thinking about summer vacations, you should be able to get a lower price, but you do run the risk of potential weather kind of derailing your plans. So some things to think about.
So I grew up in a family, and my wife did as well, where that's all we ever did was off-season vacations.
Mm-hmm.
That was the rule. So we also practiced that
and
went to places when they were not crowded and were much less expensive. And I do remember, where was it we went? We went one place where it was during the peak season or near the peak season, and we were shocked at how expensive things were compared to where they were previously if you had gone there off season.
Yeah,
and I mentioned
it can make a big difference.
I mentioned the Dells in Wisconsin. We had the practice when the kids were little of always going in late August because Wisconsin schools always went into class earlier than Minnesota schools. I think they go in like mid-August. So you'd go to Wisconsin Dells in late August, like the week before Labor Day, and half the places were darn near empty.
Oh, that's great tip.
It was fantastic. Okay. We have to take a break, but we'll continue with planning a vacation on a budget. It's obviously a good money move. And we'll be back on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking good money moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back to Good Money Moves. Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union. I'm Andy Brownell. We're talking about vacations on a budget, tips and tricks to pulling it off, right?
Yeah.
So what else should we keep in mind when I'm looking at doing this on a budget?
Yeah. So another really good tip I have is to do your best to avoid going out to eat whenever possible. So obviously when you're traveling, you're not going to avoid it completely, but really, and let's be fair, one of the appeals about going on vacation is getting to eat out at kind of fun, exciting places like a high-end steakhouse or those really kind of quirky restaurants that maybe make an incredible hamburger that is, locally famous or whatever. That's kind of part of the fun, the experience, right? But the problem is that eating out all of the time gets very expensive, especially right now when everything is more expensive than it ever used to be. But you can lower the cost of your vacation substantially just by going to a local grocery store and buying some groceries and keeping them, even if it's just snacks or popcorn or something that you keep in the room for in between meals or to take with you on your adventures on vacation, right? I mean, think about too, if you're going camping, you can bring along like a camp stove and make some really good meals that way. But you can also have kind of an informal dinner in your hotel room, even, especially if you maybe get more at one of those extended stay type places that has a little kitchenette in it, or if you rent, something like an Airbnb, it's usually a home. It makes it easier to cook and prepare meals, so you're not having to eat out all the time. Or even just, go to the local store and get some pre-made sandwiches from the deli area and, take advantage of, visiting some local parks or something and having a picnic one day. It just can help really lower the cost of that overall trip if you are being a little bit more creative about your food choices while you're on vacation.
Also a little more relaxing too.
Yeah.
That picnic lunch is always, it's a chance to just slow down for a minute, especially if you're, trying to fit in a lot in any given day. And think about the money. You were talking about going out to eat. If you went out to eat every night with a family of 4, 2 kids, and mom and dad, or whatever the range, whatever combination it is.
Yeah.
Not even a fancy place. You're talking 60, 70, $80 per meal.
Easy.
100. But yeah, you're right. In a tourist area, it's likely $100.
Yeah.
Per meal.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and that's
gosh.
too why if, looking for places that, if you are renting a hotel, did they offer that continental breakfast? Right. I mean, little things like that can really help make a difference in the overall budget when it comes down to it.
Yeah. If you do the continental breakfast, the last half hour of the continental breakfast, so you can minimize what you have to have for lunch and stuff everybody full of waffles and eggs.
There you go. Now you're thinking.
True story, though. One of our trips, we were able to, we thought we were going to be able to save some money because an unnamed person allowed us to stay in their home for 3 of the 8 days that we were at this destination.
Yeah.
We're their part of the state, and then we went to another part of the state. And so it was fantastic. They had a beautiful home, and we're just gracious hosts, and it was wonderful. And we decided, of course, to take them out to dinner to, compensate, at least do something nice. And they took us to the fanciest place on the beach.
Oh, wow.
And the bill ended up being more than what I would have spent on a hotel.
Oh, no. Well, it's the thought that counts, right?
Yeah, and that 10% contingency thing that you were talking about, that became extraordinarily important on that one. I got the bill, and I think I turned green. My face. I'm not feeling so good right now. Yeah. Well, we're talking about things you can do to fulfill your family vacation wants and needs on a budget. Mm-hmm. It's doable, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union with us this morning. We'll be back, talk a little bit more about it, some more tips on Good Money Moves. News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good Money Moves continues in moments with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. We're talking Good Money Moves with Andy Brownell and Jenna Taubel from First Alliance Credit Union on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
It's Good Money Moves, vacation on a budget. Or as my family would call it, vacation on the cheap. It sounds better when you say on a budget.
I agree.
Jenna Taubel with First Alliance Credit Union offering some tips for us, good tips. And we talked about trying not to go out to eat every day of the week that you're on vacation. Mm-hmm. Have some less expensive options as part of your plan. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the places you stay at now, you're right, they have kitchenettes in them. or at least a microwave.
Yeah.
Something like that. That can be kind of an adventure trying to come up with, things that work. How else can we save some money?
Yeah, I think the other big expense other than traveling to get wherever you're going on a vacation is usually the lodging piece. And so it's obviously really nice to come back to have like a hotel room after a fun-filled day. But there's no denying the fact that hotels really are expensive, very expensive. So you can definitely try to find ways to reduce the cost of lodging. Of course, looking at travel sites like Road Trippers, Kayak, even like Google Maps can help you find hotel prices. So just taking some time to really compare and really understand what it is you need in the hotel. If you're not planning to really ever be at the hotel, do you really need access to a pool and a spa and a gym, or do you just need a bed? If you do anticipate eating breakfast every day, making sure you find a place that is affordable and has that continental breakfast, like we were talking about before the break, are going to be important. So really just paying attention to the needs of that you need from the hotel. Any extras, are you traveling with pets? Those types of things are going to be important things to kind of compare and contrast. And like we mentioned before, you can search sites too, like Airbnb or Vrbo, to really see if there's anything less expensive than staying in a hotel. Staying in a house, again, you can also makes it easier to cook those meals and store food, so you're not having to spend so much going out to eat, like we mentioned before. And if you're feeling really adventurous, you can always, buy a tent and just find a campsite near the city that you're planning to explore or something like that.
Yeah, that'll work for a little while.
Yeah, depends how long the vacation is.
The older you get, the less attractive the tent becomes.
Yes.
But another thing with the hotels, motels, is if you're willing to put a few miles between you and whatever attraction you're looking at. If you're willing to go 15 miles away, 10 miles away, you can save a lot of money of that alone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point. If you're looking, to, let's say, visit the Twin Cities for the weekend, you maybe find a hotel that's in one of the suburbs instead of directly next to the Mall of America or something, because you can drive, right? Those types of things. That's a great point, Andy.
And usually in a major area like that, it's not a big time consuming thing to drive a few miles.
No, it's really not.
Any final advice for us on planning a vacation on a budget?
Yeah, I think one final thing I would say is to focus on prioritizing experiences over buying things like souvenirs. It can be really fun to get a souvenir as a memento for the family vacation. It's especially nice for kids. And let's face it, most of those souvenirs are targeted directly at them. This isn't money you actually need to spend, though. The memories of your experiences are going to last longer than some t-shirt or some trinket ever will. And so prioritizing experiences, paying for those park fees and tickets for the rides versus the souvenirs at the little shops along the way. And make sure to just, take photos of your experience. That's going to be really that memory piece that you're looking for versus that trinket or that t-shirt or that fanny pack, whatever you like to buy as souvenirs.
The one thing I was allowed to do is buy, with my own money, actually, bumper stickers.
Oh,
and what I did with them is I took a piece of display board, whatever, and anywhere we went when I was a kid, I would come home with that bumper sticker and I would put it on that display board. And I had that in my bedroom.
That's kind of fun.
And it was cheap, actually. And I, by the time I was 18, I had pretty much an entire record of our family's travels on this 4x4 piece of display board.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. Jenny, you always have good information, but of course, there's a lot more out there. Where can we find it?
Yeah, as always, I encourage our listeners to visit our website, firstalliancecu.com. You can subscribe to our blog. We release new financial tips and advice out there every week. You can also find more information about things like staycations that we've talked about previously on the show, as well as how to plan and save for destination summer vacations. We've written about that before on our blog. And I mentioned, earlier in the show, we have the free vacation budget planner and that SMART goal downloadable that you can get in our online resource center for free that I encourage you to go and use to plan your next vacation. But of course, you can listen to past episodes of Good Money Moves at firstalliancecu.com/podcast or on kerosnews.com. You can also subscribe to Good Money Moves on Apple, Google, and Spotify podcasts. And if you do love our show, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And of course, if you have a financial topic that you would like us to cover or questions you'd like answered on Good Money Moves, please send me an email at marketing@firstalliancecu.com. And of course, I strongly encourage you to reach out to our team at First Alliance Credit Union. They can help you start making good money moves today towards your next family vacation.
That is First Alliance Credit Union, insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. This has been Good Money Moves. Jenna Taubel, thank you so much again, and we'll chat next week.
Absolutely.
With more Good Money Moves on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.